Did you know that the health of your gums might actually be a warning light for your heart and even your blood sugar levels?
Welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Stay informed with quick, easy-to-listen summaries of our latest articles, perfect for when you're on the go. No reading required. Subscribe for free at Mercola.com for the latest health insights.
Hello and welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Today, we're going to look at something that might just make you rethink your entire morning routine.
It might.
We're doing a deep dive into this really fascinating connection between what you eat, specifically a compound called lycopene, and the health of your mouth.
Right.
But as we're about to find out, this isn't just about, having a nice smile or fresh breath. We're talking about structural integrity.
It definitely isn't just cosmetic. I mean, most people think of gum health as a very localized issue.
Yeah, like, did I brush long enough, or am I flossing right?
Exactly. But the information we're looking at today, it paints a much bigger, more systemic picture. We're looking at severe gum disease as a mirror for the body's inflammation.
So our mission today is to unpack this link. We're going from low lycopene intake to severe gum disease, which is technically called periodontitis, and then connecting that to some, frankly, pretty serious conditions like heart disease and diabetes.
It turns out the mouth is really the gateway,
It always is. Okay, let's get into it. The headline finding is pretty stark. Low lycopene intake is tied to a higher risk of severe gum disease. Now, I have to be honest. When I first read that, I was a little skeptical. I've always been told that gum disease is about plaque and sugar and maybe, bad luck with your genes.
Right, the standard stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like a bit of a stretch to just say, eat a tomato, save your teeth. Is the link really that strong?
I completely understand the skepticism because we're trained to view dentistry as like mechanics. You scrub a surface, you scrape off the plaque.
Right.
But you have to remember that your gums are living tissue. They're constantly turning over, constantly under attack. And this research, it highlights that while hygiene matters, the resilience of that tissue is nutritional.
So this isn't just about gingivitis, which is like a little redness if you don't floss for a day.
No, and that is a crucial distinction. Gingivitis is inflammation, sure, but it's usually reversible with good cleaning. We are talking about periodontitis.
And what's the difference there?
That's where the inner layer of the gum and bone literally pull away from the teeth and form these pockets.
Oh, wow.
And these pockets collect debris and can become infected. Then the body's immune system starts fighting the bacteria as the plaque spreads and grows below the gum line.
And this is where lycopene enters the chat.
This is exactly where it enters. Because the bacterial toxins and the body's own response, they start to break down the bone and the connective tissue that hold your teeth in place. This whole battle creates a massive amount of free radicals.
Unstable molecules that cause damage.
Right. And lycopene is a potent antioxidant. So if you don't have enough of it circulating in your system, your gum tissue effectively runs out of ammunition. It can't neutralize those free radicals, and the tissue just starts to degrade.
Okay, so it's like the difference between, say, cleaning a house and making sure the foundation is actually strong enough to hold the house up.
That is a perfect analogy.
You can scrub the siding all day long. That's the brushing. But if the wood is rotting from the inside because it lacks the right chemical treatment, the house is still going to fall down.
And the chemical treatment here is the antioxidant capacity of your blood. The finding is that your intake dictates your defense. Low levels of lycopene just leave the gum tissues vulnerable.
I want to dig into the why a little more. We know lycopene is an antioxidant, but there are lots of antioxidants, right? Vitamin C, vitamin E. Why is this specific red pigment showing up as the hero for our gums?
Well, lycopene is pretty distinct. It's incredibly effective at quenching something called singlet oxygen, a particularly reactive molecule that can do a lot of damage to cell structures.
And our gums are full of cells.
And blood. The tissue is highly vascular, so when you consume lycopene, it travels through the bloodstream and gets delivered right to those tissues where it integrates into the cell membranes and acts like a shield.
So it's literally reinforcing the cell walls of the gums against a bacterial attack.
Essentially, yes. It prevents the collagen from being broken down as quickly. Collagen is the protein that keeps your gums tight and firm. And when inflammation runs wild, you get these enzymes that just start chewing up that tissue. Lycopene helps put the brakes on that whole cascade.
That brings us to this idea of chronic inflammation. We hear that term thrown around all the time.
All the time.
But here they're saying severe gum disease is chronic inflammation. It's a physical manifestation of it.
That's the key. Think of it this way. Acute inflammation is good. You cut your finger, it gets red, it heals. That's your body fixing a problem.
Right.
Chronic inflammation is like a fire smoldering behind the walls of your house. You might not see the flames, but the structure is getting weaker every single day.
And in this story, the gums are both the victim of the fire and the smoke alarm.
Exactly. The victim and the signal. And this is where we have to stop looking at the mouth as, this separate thing. It's highly permeable. If you have periodontitis, those deep pockets we mentioned, that means the barrier between the outside world and your bloodstream is compromised.
So like leaky gums, a bit like the concept of leaky gut.
A very similar concept. And then this is why the low lycopene finding is so critical. If you don't have the nutrient density to seal that barrier and quell the inflammation, you basically have an open wound in your mouth 24/7.
That is a disturbing image, an open wound in your mouth. I mean, if I had an open wound on my arm that wouldn't heal, I'd be at the doctor immediately.
Of course you would. But because it's in our mouth and maybe it doesn't hurt that much in the beginning, we tend to ignore it.
And that silence is dangerous.
Incredibly dangerous because, as the material points out, this isn't just about losing a tooth. That open wound is a highway for bacteria and inflammatory compounds to get into your general circulation.
Which leads us to the real big reveal here. The sources explicitly connect this whole issue to much broader, much scarier health risks. We're talking heart disease and diabetes.
That's right. And I want to be clear, this isn't just some vague correlation. There are actual mechanical pathways here. Let's take the heart first.
Okay.
When you have severe gum disease, bacteria from the mouth one is called Porphyromonas gingivalis, can actually enter the bloodstream. It's a condition called bacteremia.
And where do they go from there?
They can travel to your arteries. And researchers have actually found the DNA from these oral bacteria inside atherosclerotic plaque.
Wait, hold on. You're saying the actual bacteria that causes gum disease has been found inside the clogged arteries of heart patients?
Yes. And it's not just that they're present. They seem to actively contribute to the inflammation of the vessel walls. So if you're low on lycopene and your gum barrier fails, you could be seeding your cardiovascular system with inflammation every single time you chew.
That completely reframes the importance of oral health. It's not hygiene, it's cardiovascular protection. What about the link to diabetes?
It's a two-way street with diabetes. High blood sugar helps bacteria thrive, which makes gum disease worse, but the reverse is also true.
How so?
Severe gum disease increases systemic inflammation. It raises levels of things like C-reactive protein or CRP. These markers make the body more resistant to insulin.
So having inflamed gums can actually make your blood sugar control worse.
Absolutely. It adds to the total inflammatory load on your body. If your body is constantly fighting a war in your mouth, your metabolic control is going to suffer. It's a vicious cycle.
It really was an aha moment for me reading this. It means checking for gum disease is almost like a screening tool for your heart and metabolic health.
That's the correct way to look at it.
If I look in the mirror and see my gums are angry or receding, I shouldn't just think, oops, gotta floss more. I should be thinking my systemic inflammation might be out of control.
That is precisely the interpretation. The mouth is a visible dashboard for an invisible internal process. If the gums are struggling, it's a very strong indicator that your vascular and metabolic systems are also under stress.
Okay, we've established the problem. Let's pivot to the solution. The source focuses on intake, getting more lycopene. But it's not as simple as just eat a salad, is it? There's always a catch with nutrient absorption.
You are so right. There's a nuance here that most people miss. If you just grab a raw tomato and eat it like an apple, you're getting some lycopene, but not nearly as much as you could be.
Why is that?
Because the lycopene is tightly bound within the cell walls of the plant. In raw tomatoes, it's basically locked away. To make it bioavailable, so your body can actually use it, you need to break down those cell walls.
So we need to cook them.
Yes. Cooking or thermal processing breaks that cell matrix and changes the lycopene molecule into a shape that's easier for the body to absorb. This means tomato paste, tomato sauce, stewed tomatoes, those are actually far superior sources.
That is so counterintuitive. Usually we talk about how cooking can destroy nutrients.
In this specific case, the processing helps. But there's a second critical factor. Lycopene is fat-soluble. It's a lipophilic molecule.
It needs a fat to be absorbed.
It needs a carrier. If you eat a bowl of plain steamed tomatoes with zero fat, very little of that lycopene is going to make it into your bloodstream.
So we need to pair it with a healthy fat. And we have to be careful here because We want to avoid the inflammatory fats, like industrial seed oils.
Correct. You definitely don't want to use those as they can promote the very oxidation we're trying to prevent. You want a stable, healthy, saturated fat.
Like grass-fed butter or ghee.
Those are ideal. The fat acts as a shuttle, transporting the lycopene across the intestinal barrier.
So the prescription for gum armor isn't a raw salad. It's closer to a tomato soup made with real butter.
Exactly. Or maybe some stewed tomatoes on the side of a steak. And consistency is key. You want to maintain a steady level of these antioxidants in your blood to constantly repair the micro damage that happens every day.
I think what strikes me is how easy it is to overlook this. Gum disease is often painless in the early stages, isn't it?
That's the danger. It's that silent killer aspect. That's why paying attention to the markers is so vital. If your gums are bleeding when you brush, that is not normal. That is your body shouting at you.
Shouting, "We're inflamed."
We're inflamed. We don't have enough antioxidant support. Help us out. And if we just use a stronger mouthwash, we're basically putting a piece of tape over the check engine light.
You haven't fixed the engine.
You've done nothing for the fire burning under the hood. You have to treat the biology, not just the symptom.
This all really validates the whole idea of the mouth-body connection.
It really does. It also shifts the responsibility. It's not just about the mechanical act of cleaning. It's about the biological act of nourishing. You are ignoring a major risk factor for your vital organs if you ignore your diet.
Okay, let's synthesize this chain reaction one more time, just so everyone is clear on the pathway.
Sure. It starts with low lycopene intake,
Which leads to oxidative stress and a breakdown of collagen in the gums,
which then manifests as periodontitis, that's severe gum disease,
which then acts as a source of chronic systemic inflammation.
which is then directly linked to an increased risk of heart disease and diabetes.
When you lay it out like that, step by step, it's impossible to ignore. It makes you want to go check your pantry right now.
It should. It highlights that nutrition is a form of structural support. You can't just rely on external fixes for internal problems.
And while lycopene is the star of this particular study, it's really about a lifestyle that lowers inflammation overall.
Correct. It all works together. Avoiding the sugars that feed the bad bacteria, avoiding the oils that drive oxidation. It's all part of the same picture.
It's amazing. We started with this one thread, lycopene, and ended up discussing the fundamental architecture of human health.
That's the beauty of looking at the body at a cellular level. When you understand the cellular wisdom, the way the body tries to protect itself and signal distress, you stop seeing symptoms as annoyances.
You start seeing them as information.
Information that could potentially save your life. If you catch gum disease early and realize it's a sign to overhaul your nutrition, you might be preventing a heart attack 10 years from now. That's the power here.
That's incredibly empowering. It takes the fear out of it and replaces it with action.
And in this case, the action is pretty tasty.
So to wrap up, we started with a nutrient, lycopene, moved to the gums, discovered they're a mirror for inflammation, and ended up looking right at the heart and blood sugar.
A journey from the mouth to the absolute center of your body's health.
It really highlights the value of understanding that mouth-body connection. And it encourages you to take what you eat seriously as a tool for both oral and systemic protection.
Absolutely. It's about moving from a reactive model of health, waiting for a problem, to a proactive one. You're building resilience. You're stocking your body with the tools it needs.
And as we close out, here's a final thought for you to mull over. We talked about gums being a signal.
The alarm system.
Right. So if your gums are the alarm system for your heart, what other minor symptoms have we all been ignoring that are actually shouting about our total health? What other whispers is your body trying to tell you before they turn into screams?
That's the question to ask.
Thank you for listening to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. See you in the next episode. Looking for trusted health wisdom you can hold in your hands? Discover the life-changing books of Dr. Mercola at joyhousepublishing.com. These titles bring decades of natural health research into practical steps for better energy, stronger immunity, and clearer thinking. Take charge of your health with guidance rooted in science and experience. Visit joyhousepublishing.com now and claim your bonuses while they are available.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.